In this episode, we are going to be talking about the turn.
The turn.
In Antares 2, each player and their units has a chance to perform actions every turn. And it'll be stated in the scenario how many turns are played, and if it isn't, that just means that the game ends when one opponent or the other meets their objectives. Each turn proceeds as follows.
Gathering the dice.
To start off the first turn, each player is going to have a force, as our examples here. Each unit, depending on what kind of unit it is going to generate a number of order dice that are then basically turned into a pool for each side. This order dice pool that is generated is then collected and placed into ideally a bag or any other opaque container that can then be shuffled so dice can be pulled at random. Once the order dice are in the bag, you may start the game. Each turn is going to be broken into two phases. The order phase, in which units actually act out actions, and then the end turn phase, in which you make declarations or take tests in preparation for the next turn.
Order phase.
The first phase is the order phase, and it is further subdivided into segments, kind of like the magic stack if you're familiar. Segment 1, Action Army Option. In the first segment, any player who wishes to use an army option that executes before the order phase begins must do so then. A good example of this would be the army option Superior Shard. In the case in which both players would like to use an army option, you just roll off. Whoever wins this roll off gets to activate their army option first. Whoever loses then goes second, and then continues to alternate in that fashion from that point on. Segment 2, Action Retained Orders. In the second segment, any actions that were retained from the previous turn that must be performed first are now performed. The best example, and most common most likely, will be anything with the fast roll, such as these Concorde jet bike units. With a retained run order, they must now activate. Segment 3, Order Dice Draw. In segment 3, we will be randomly pulling a dice out of the order bag. Freeboard! Whoever's dice it is, you hand it to that player. In the event that there is a event dice present in the bag and it is pulled, that event is then triggered and worked out. Segment 4, Allocate Order Dice. In segment 4, the player who received the order dice then selects a unit that can receive an order and gives that unit an order. To indicate that this has happened, place the order dice next to the unit who has performed the order, showing the order the unit has performed. Segment 5, Take Order Test. In segment 5, if necessary, the unit then performs an order test to determine if it successfully follows the order. Segment 6, the unit's action. In segment 6, if all has gone well, you then perform the unit's action. Segment 7, repeat draw action. Segment 7 is the last segment in the order phase, and to start off segment 7, you confusedly go to segment 3, so you're basically repeating the drawing of an order dice from the bag. This process is repeated until all the dice have been drawn from the order dice bag, as well as all actions been performed by units, and that basically ends the order phase. You then continue the second phase, the turn end phase. Turn end phase. During the turn end phase, all of the order dice are once again gathered up from the field, placed back into the order dice bag, unless they were retained. And this phase is once again broken up into different segments. Segment 1. Down recovery. In segment 1, down orders can be retained from turn to turn if a player chooses, but if that player does not want to remain down, that down unit must pass a recovery test to recover the order dice and have it placed back in the bag. Segment 2, retain or recover ambush orders. In segment 2, any player who has a unit with an unactivated ambush order may now choose to either retain that for the next turn or recover the dice. Segment 3, retain or recover other orders. In segment 3, some special units will be allowed to retain other orders. Like our previous example, a fast unit retaining a run order. It is now that you decide whether you would like to retain or recover those dice. Segment 4, Special Effects Segment. Segment 4 is the last segment of the turn end phase, and it is the segment in which any special event or contested dice from subverter matrices or any of the other myriad of special rules are now played out. Another prime example would be testing to see if a special munition that's on the field either continues to work or stops working at all. And that is the two phases of each turn. In review, the first phase is the order phase, broken up into first, action army options, action retained orders, order dice draw, allocate order dice, take order test, the unit's actual action, and finally, repeat draw action. The order phase is then followed by the turn end phase, which is broken up into first, down recovery, retain recover ambush, retain recover other orders, and finally, special effects segment. It is important to note that during the battle, units are going to be destroyed. It is a war game after all. And it's important to note that when a unit is destroyed, that order dice is then removed from the pool. And the way you do that is either remove the order dice from the table if the unit is already activated that turn, or if it hasn't activated, remove that order from the bag. Now, as we're describing this turn sequence, it is also important to note that there is something called reactions in Antares, and these can kind of break up the flow of the turn, but we're going to cover that in more detail in a future episode. Thank you for watching. Do not forget you can find all of this information in the free downloadable rulebooks on the new Antares Nexus, link in the description below. And if you want to help support our channel in the easiest way possible, like this video, subscribe to our channel, and make sure you have notifications enabled. And as always, we'll see you on the tabletop.